More chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
It's Wrexham.
He's done it, the magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Foden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Trundle for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel. What a chance! What a goal! What a goal from Al Robson Carter! Folks, good wicket kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Wanagate, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
Here's Mendy! There's that race-class roar again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast for one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. Yes, we're back, although Daz is not, as this week he's out in the garden sunning his bits and scaring the birds. But in a week when more than 100,000 live cockroaches illegal to keep in Australia were confiscated from a single breeder in the country's largest ever seizure of exotic invertebrates, officials said on Friday. The haul of Madagascar hissing cockroaches and dubia cockroaches worth 200,000 Australian dollars or 142,000 American dollars were seized in May from a commercial breeder in the city of Bathurst in New South Wales State, according to Australia's Department of Climate Change, Energy, Environment and Water. The Madagascar hissing species is one of the world's largest cockroaches, measuring 2 to 3 inches in length, and cockroaches flourish in Australia due to its subtropical climates, and the country is home to hundreds of species. Bathurst snake catcher Stephanie Lesser told the Australian Broadcasting Corporation that the larger exotic species were likely being sold as cost-effective reptile food because their larger size meant fewer insects were needed. Officials urged pet owners to seek out crickets or wood roaches to feed their lizards instead. Australia has a strict biodiversity and biosecurity controls at its border to protect its agriculture and horticultural sectors and native wildlife from pest infestations. Those smuggling in undeclared or illegal animals, insect or plant material can be fined thousands of dollars. Well, with the hot weather, one person looks like he's smuggling budgies in his briefs. It's Jamie.
It's fucking hot. It's
He's
so
too
fucking
hot.
hot.
He's too hot. Oh, he's too hot.
Honestly, I'm gonna be the stereotypical Brit where it's just too hot. It's too hot, man.
It's too hot. He's too hot. He's too hot.
We're just not catered for it in this country.
No, we're not. I'm in
particularly when you're a pasty white fucker like me.
Absolutely. I'm in the Eat More Chip shed at the moment, and it is about 45 degrees. I am literally melting. So let's crack through this. In a new section that we're introducing this week, what grinds Jamie's gears? Because he just said to me, are we doing this? And I said, well, we weren't going to, but we are now. Jamie, what grinds your gears?
Lots of things. Memberships.
What you're talking about here is are you talking about, I mean, I know you don't like you have a bugbear about the club's, what the club does about memberships, but is it specifically the postage issue that's come up this week that you're really annoyed about?
It is, isn't it? I think that the main point about this is it's another example of terrible communication, isn't it? Am I overly bothered about the fact that I've had to pay £3 for postage? Not really. obviously it's more for international fans. I think it's £6 for if you're based in Europe, and then £9 if you're kind of rest of the world. So that is a reasonable amount more on top of your membership. It's just the poor way it's being communicated again. My membership, mine and my wife's membership, was set on auto renew. So I've not. If there was any communication hidden in an email, I've not really seen it. And ultimately, I would have rather them just turned around at the beginning and said, memberships this year are going to go up by £4.
I think that seems to be the thing, doesn't it? I think it's the stealth way that it's been done. It's not necessarily the amount of money, although I think £9 for postage internationally is a lot of money. But maybe that's just me, and I'm just old.
I just can't wait for the fallout. I just can't wait for the fallout when my gold membership gift comes through, and it's a Dean Keats air freshener. I can't wait to see how exciting it's going to be.
It's a Billy Waters doll in a Chester shirt. That's what it'll be.
Ooh, Billy Waters. Ooh. It boiled my piss a little bit earlier in the week. Just not so much, like I say, not so much the £3 for postage.
Have you paid it yet?
It's so funny enough. I've just been doing it before I came on here because when I
looked at my membership, it was on my account.
Because the thing is, again, it's that whole the whole communication thing, and the whole. I know there's been a lot of ticketing fiasco again this week with problems with the ticket system, and you just think, look, I get that the clubs move very fast and all that jazz, but we have been dealing with this for a number of seasons now, and you'd think with the likes of HP involved and just generally the infrastructure the club's got now, you'd like to think that these kind of issues were behind us. But I got an email a few days ago, so I still haven't had an email on my account to tell me about this. I got the email on my wife's membership saying you need to log on and pay this £3, and I'm like, what? So I logged on and I couldn't find anything, so I kind of just left it in my inbox, and then I logged on to my account earlier to have a look at getting a women's season ticket and then try and get a ticket for one of these European games. And on my account, there was a postage, like a reserved ticket that I have to pay by. I haven't logged on to it yet, but I've not had the email. I've not had an email directly to me saying you've got to pay this, but it's there on my account. It's just like I say, it's just poor.
They should have just incorporated it, shouldn't they? They should have just said it's going to be this plus whatever postage it is, and that's it. And there's no. It's the stealth nature of it. I think I'm a little bit upset about, because it's kind of, you're basically saying, this is what we want with one hand, and then, oh, by the way, we want a little bit extra. That's naughty. Because it might make a difference to some people if you are living internationally and you're kind of going, well, I want to buy the gold. I want to buy the gold membership, but it's a lot of money. Okay, well, it's just about okay. If suddenly then you've got to have £9 or $14, $15 as it's going to be, you're kind of going, well, now that's now becoming. And as you say, we don't know what it's going to be yet. They're really setting themselves up for a big fall if they don't come up with something where you think, yes, that was worth it. Because a key ring with a bit of grass in it and a leatherette wallet is not going to cut it.
But again, it's that transparency and communication, isn't it?
Yes.
You should have known from the off what you were getting.
Totally.
It should have been, if you pay £50 for this gold membership, you get all the standard stuff, and your gifts will be this. And then at least that way you can make an informed decision and say, well, I don't want a Dean Keats air freshener, so I'm not going to get the £50 one. But yeah, let's wait and see. But
I mean, you weren't here when obviously Daz and I discussed about the exclusive merchandise that they released. What were your thoughts on it? Because you're a bit of a clothes horse. You will buy stuff if you like it. I know that.
The black and gold stuff was all right, but I don't think I certainly don't think it was anything special to justify an exclusive range. And I think the fact that the club posted like a reminder to purchase that was it. They've extended the window That to me says they've not had a huge uptake.
Yep.
I think it was quite poorly conceived because it was very, very basic. And then the fact that the Red Dragon membership version was exactly the same stuff, but red stitching instead of gold, was a little bit of a piss take. But we've talked about this before, haven't we? For all the good the club does, they do have a tendency to do a bit of an own goal from time to time. And,
Absolutely.
I think that range was another one of them. I've got a funny feeling that a lot of that stuff might end up in the clearance section at the club shop.
I think so, and that exclusive wear that you've paid your money for suddenly is not so exclusive anymore when it is in the club shop, as you say. So, yeah, it'll be very, very interesting from that point of view. Anyway, we'll find out. This is just one step. I mean, there are other bits which we'll talk about in a second. And I'm sure it's not going to be the last time where we kind of go, the club just needs to have a bit of a think and just take a pause. I mean, the ballots obviously open today for the first few matches. I alerted you. Have you entered? Because obviously, again, I've renewed the season ticket, but you've put your name down for the season ticket. But obviously, that means you've got to go through the ballot.
I haven't done anything with the ballot yet, purely because I've been quite busy. I've not long put the fixtures in the calendar, but then obviously I need to have a conversation with you about which ones you are and aren't attending, etc. I think of the first three that have gone on. There's one that I definitely can't do because I'm working. The ballot is what it is, isn't it? I'm personally, I'm kind of glad they've kept it, because I know there was the whole debate last year about the ballot and the fastest finger first, and people have got prefer one over the other. I just think, at least with the ballot, as long as there is a genuine, it's a genuine randomly selected behind the scenes. I'm not suggesting for a second it isn't. As long as it's a genuinely randomly selected process, then it is the fairest way. Because like the example I used previously was the whole fastest finger first thing. For me, most of the time it was okay, because I was in a position that I could log on at 10 o'clock when they went on sale. But there's people who can't do that. There's people who, teachers or something, who are in a classroom and can't do that. So it does seem the fairest way. Let's just hope that this is the last season that we're going to have to deal with this. And
it should be. It should be. Michael Williamson himself has said that it will be the cop will be open the new cop will be open in some way next season.
Well, I drove past it yesterday. And this is the first time I've been into Wrexham for a good while. It is going to be fucking massive. Absolutely massive. You go into the stadium now and you sit, we sit in the upper Wrexham Lager stand and you think, quite high up here, and it's, you got a good view and everything. I'll tell you what, it's going to be colossal. It is. They're throwing it up at a mega pace. I mean, actually, I only drove past it and sort of stopped, but it looks like the second tier is being put in already. So there's, lots of framework. I think by the time we get to the start of the season in August and we're all back in the ground, it's going to be, massively significant structure to look at.
Well, compared to where it was when we ended the season,
well, it was just
two concrete floors. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we'll be there on Sunday for the under 19s Euros, so we'll get a good look at it from inside the ground. I think we're in the Mold Road stand, on Sunday. So, yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good to be able to see that.
I bet it'll still be cold in there.
It'll still be freezing, even at 40 degrees. It'll be wind chill of minus 50. So that's what will set it all up.
Don't be afraid to cry now, even when the world comes crashing in. Don't forget to sing when you win.
Season 5 of Welcome to Wrexham is drawing to a close, and as per usual, spoiler alert, spool on if you don't want to hear anything about the episodes we're going to speak about this week. As we were away last week, there are 2 episodes that we didn't talk about. Episode 6, entitled Hell Week. Wrexham AFC plays 3 high-stakes matches in 7 days, including hosting legendary Premier League club Chelsea. Co-chairman Rob Mack and Ryan Reynolds prepare to broadcast a match. We say goodbye to many old favourites as they leave the club. Humphrey reflects on his time at Wrexham and his current role within the club. A great reenactment of the Chelsea game without having to pay large fees to show the highlights, which I thought was brilliant. And we beat Swansea at home. That gets everybody's back up, to say the least. And then episode 7, entitled Touching Grass, with Wrexham fighting for a position in the playoffs and perhaps promotion to the Premier League. Phil Parkinson tries to keep his squad and himself grounded. We see how Parky interacts with the players and more about Parky's life and career. Ryan reflects on his time with Wrexham. We catch up with Archie. Brilliant to see him in his fight against cancer. And we meet some of the behind-the-scenes staff, including Mike White. We see the pumping we got against Southampton, their cheating bastard of a manager. And then our battle towards the final playoff place, whether we can make it. Jamie, I'll let you first of all, obviously, because we didn't mention, because you weren't here, episode 5. Because there was a certain big fat lemon in there as a pop-up, and I can't. I even though I want to, I'm not going to let you miss your chance to have a good pop at me in public. So, cue.
Well, all I can say is you had more. You were. What's the word? Your chins were very prevalent. Let's put it that way.
I mean, your debut, your audio debut was spectacular. May I say?
I know, yeah. So it was nice.
Shite,
it was nice.
I believe, is the word that stuck out for me.
Yeah, I think. Which game was it referring to?
Preston North.
Yeah. Hey, look. I'll take it. It's a claim to fame. I'll take it.
Does that go on your IMDb? Does it go on your profile?
Will do. Yeah, it will do. Now, yeah, I'm waiting for Mickey Mouse to drop by with the royalties. No, I mean that was funny, but then when you appeared again, I mean, Christ, you should be getting credits on that program. You've been on it that much.
Yeah.
The pop-up was funny. I'll give you that. So well done to Welcome to Wrexham for creating basically what looks like a pop-up version of a fat Where's Wally. That's pretty much what it was like. So that was quite cool. But to be fair, you get around that much. I'm not surprised that you're on it again.
I'm a little bit terrified about today's episode, the last episode, because they did interview me before the Oxford game, and they've interviewed me a fair bit as I was going into the stand. So I'm hoping that none of that, because I must have sounded like a right twat.
If you're on it again, I'm gonna flip, because it's ridiculous.
You've either got it or you haven't, Jim, and I've got it in spades. Anyway, let's go back to episode 6, Hell Week. Interesting one, this one, to see kind of Rob jetting around and desperately trying to get between his filming commitments and his Wrexham commitments. And there was a lot of reflection in this one for me, obviously with lots of players, Jacob Mendy and Elliot Lee and Macca, and just all these players who basically are saying goodbye and how hard it is. And we've said, and we know that that's part of football, but it doesn't make it any easier to see. It was quite sad at times, and I think the saddest one for me was Humphrey, because I got so much respect for the guy, and without him, none of this would have even started. And now you kind of feel that he is in his twilight of his Wrexham career, as his standard career as a comedy writer and actor performer, it takes more of a prevalence, and his time at the club he spends less and less. I mean, what was your reflection on episode 6?
Yeah, I mean, I think another good episode overall. I think this has been another solid season. They set the bar so high with those first 2 episodes. It was always going to be difficult to maintain a level. And obviously, there's something which I'll talk about in a minute, which you've been talking about on your Unfair pod this week anyway. But this episode as a side, you're right, very much a kind of a reflection / just keeping us updated with kind of where the team was at. The Humphrey bit was quite sad. It was quite sad because it he cut a bit of a figure of, like, almost feeling it came across like almost like he was really kind of upset that he's been pushed out. But I don't think he's been pushed out deliberately. I think it's just, unfortunately, it's a consequence of the club moving forward the way it has. With the greatest respect to Humphrey, and as much as he's a knowledgeable football guy, he's not a Mike Williamson, he's not a Sean Harvey, and those are the type of people that we need running and in charge of the football club. He'll always hold a special place.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure Rob and Ryan will never let it be. I'm sure he'll stay on the board.
I'm sure they make a statue of him if they can find enough brass, because he's so big. From that point of view. The thing is, he was a conduit in the early days between Rob and Ryan and Fleur and Sean. Well, that's what his job was. His job was being that conduit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the
that's not needed anymore. Yeah, that's not needed
exactly.
Anymore.
But some of the little callbacks in the episode were they're funny to watch again. Like that first day where he walked in and you've got all the players. I mean, honestly, when I watched it the first time, when I rewatched it on this episode, I wanted the floor to swallow me, never mind him, because the look on the player's face, and obviously Dean Keats's face, was like as if to say, "Who is this muppet?" And you look back to the start, and like I say, there was those little clips of Rob asking him to put him in touch. Could he put him in touch with Phil Parkinson and stuff like that? So you're right. It needs to be remembered the role he's played in this journey that we're on. Without him, we're not where we are, and that's not, obviously not from a monetary or financial point of view, but just from a facilitating point of view.
Totally.
But yeah, that was a pretty somber sort of piece. Obviously, transfer deadline day, bit of behind the scenes on that again. Sean Harvey on the phone saying, "Tell him to fuck off," was a particular highlight, whoever he was talking to. The Keeler Dunn bit was interesting. It wasn't a long piece, but obviously Parky saying, basically saying it was a big signing and glad to get him through the door. And I'm thinking, well, what happened after that? Because
did he get him on the training pitch and go, "Oh my God, what have I just bought?"
Well, something went awry because that just didn't stack up at all.
Yep.
Like you say, James McLean getting like a little bit of coverage with his farewell was nice. It's sad to hear that it doesn't sound like it's working out particularly well for him over in Ireland from what he's been saying
He's been having a lot of injuries, and the club are in trouble. They're in trouble. They're fighting relegation. So I know, and some Derry fans are kind of saying to him, you're just here to whatever, which I think is really cruel, to be honest. So I don't think he's having a good time, to be honest. And
then, like you say, the Chelsea bit was really well done. It was really well done. Good on them for standing their ground and not being prepared to just pay the extortionate amounts of money to have the footage. The way they did it was really good, really clever. And it was nice to kind of relive that night because it was such a special night. But yeah, another solid episode, and then, like you say, the number 7 after that.
Episode 7, Touching Grass. I mean, we got to see. I mean, we know a lot about Parky anyway, because obviously we've had Parky going through all 5 series, but we kind of get to see him. There was doing some interaction with players that we've not really seen since season 1, when he was talking to Jordan Davis, when Jordan Davis was having the personal problems in his family life and everything, and we kind of see the human side of Parky. Not that we don't think Parky has a human side, of course he does, but there is a certain veneer that has to be there because he has to have that hard edge to him, where you kind of see a little bit more behind the curtain and see what's actually behind Parky's train of thought.
100%. I think it was a nice episode to get us closer to Parky. Like you say, we're very aware of him, and obviously he's been there, and we see lots of him on the episodes through the documentary. But it was the first time, probably since the first season, that we've really kind of spent time with him, and it was kind of I think it was good for a lot of the maybe the newer or the overseas fans to find out a bit more about like his playing career. Maybe didn't realise how kind of experienced he was as a player as well as a coach. But yeah, there was no real, I don't think any criticisms on the episode being heavily kind of focused on that. Like you say, catching up with Archie was a
Brilliant.
was nice to do,
Brilliant.
because that was such a difficult thing to watch last season, and it's great to see that he's on the road to being able to get on with being a child, which is
exactly
no child should have to deal with something like that. So yeah, it was nice to touch in with him. But yeah, I mean, again, two more good episodes. Can't believe we're all, the last one.
Well,
tonight.
This is the thing. We've got one more episode left. Those of you, and you're going to talk about it in a second, and I'll let you talk about it. Those of you who listened to myself, Matt, and Del on Full Time with Del,
Affair Pod,
the Affair Pod, the other evening, would have known my feelings about this. And normally when I do those pods, I kind of reflect afterwards and go, "Oh, I was a little bit severe there." I wasn't severe on that one. I really did. I still feel it. I still feel it's a massive mischance. I mean, what do you think? What's your thoughts about this? Because I've said my piece. Now it's your turn.
I agree with you. I'm very surprised, given how much Rob and Ryan in particular have kind of stressed from the beginning that they want Wrexham to be the best women's side in the world. And that's obviously a huge statement, and is going to take an awful lot to get to that stage. But the fact that the women's side secured the league for the first time, the cup for the first time, and after the season that they'd had, it's been really disappointing, the lack of coverage that has been in the documentary. And to be fair, what you talked about on your Affair Pod, the three of you talked about, more so you and Matt, is even if it would have just been a 5-minute, 10-minute section of each episode, just as like a recap of where the women are at, to mirror what they've been doing with the men's. They've gone through the season of the men's team obviously very quickly, because there's a lot to cover in 8 episodes, alongside the stories that they want to tell as well. They could have done something very similar, but obviously a much quicker version. It would have at least given some and quite right spotlight to the women's achievements. Sadly, for me, I don't believe it's, at the end of the day, I don't think the club has a huge say in what goes in the documentary. It's more the people behind the TV side of it. But sadly, I think it's maybe a bit of a representation of where a lot of the interest lies. I'm not saying that's right, but I think it's safe to say, from when you look at social media, it's safe to say, I know, Matt was talking about it for the dedicated women's pod you do. There's a lot of time where people will comment on his videos saying, "Oh, you're talking about the women. I'm going to skip on." Unfortunately, I think it feels like the coverage that they've given it is a reflection on what they think the interest is in it. And I'm not saying that I agree with that and that's right.
No.
But that's how it comes across, because they give it no coverage. Now, obviously, we don't know what's going to be in this last episode, and I'm sure there will be something in it. But
the thing is, we know, don't we? We know that they're going to have to cover the men's last 3 or 4 games, because obviously they've got to a point now where they've built up to the Birmingham game, and that we lost in that, and it's the run-in where we did give ourselves a chance by, there's the whole thing of Okonkwo being replaced by Danny Ward. They'll do something on that, I'm sure, and then there'll be those last 3 or 4 games, that will need, because you need to then tie that story in a bow, because that's the end of the season, and the disappointment, and it depends whether they do cover anything about Tonda Eckhart. Probably not. I wouldn't think. They'll maybe do a cheeky wink to it or something like that. Who knows? But even then, for me, then you're going to basically cram an entire season of women's football and all the achievements that go with that into half an episode or 3/4 of an episode. And I just think it deserves, for me, a little bit more time. And that's how you could have spread it out. As you say, if you did 10 minutes every other episode, just to keep that story bubbling over, I think.
100%. But like I say, I think unfortunately, I think it's a representation on where they see the interest in the program, which is sad, and it's a shame for the ladies because of phenomenal achievement that they had last season. But I guess there'll be pressures on people in the chain, won't they? The broadcasters have commissioned it for another 3 seasons. They're going to want the viewing. They're going to expect certain level of viewing figures and whatever other matrix they measure it on. They're going to expect that to be hit, and the people putting the show together, either through research or just feeling, they obviously feel that focusing heavily on the men's team is what is going to allow them to hit whatever numbers they have to hit. Just a shame for the women after such a fantastic season that it's not had a huge amount of coverage.
We'll do a full review of the season next week because obviously we'll talk about the last episode, and then we'll have a discussion. Hopefully by that point Daz will at least have seen some of it, or if not, we'll send him into a cupboard and he can go la 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 with his fingers in his ears like he usually does. But we'll do a review. We'll do a review kind of how he felt this season, and don't forget what's to look forward to, because obviously we at the moment we're signed up for another 2 seasons. However, with television contracts, that will depend on viewing figures, and Hulu could quite easily pull the plug if it did felt that it had run its course, because they know where they won't spend money just for the sake of spending money. But we'll do that review next week. Now on the Eat More Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Cymru's 2026-27 UEFA Nations League opening match against Portugal on Thursday the 24th of September will take place in the Estadio José Alvalade, thank you, a stadium in Lisbon, with a kick-off at 7:45 p.m. BST. The venue holds 52,000 spectators and is the home of Sporting Lisbon. Opened in 2003, it hosted 5 games in Euro 2004, including the semi-final between Portugal and the Netherlands. The Cymru men's national team last faced Portugal in the UEFA 2016 semi-finals, of course, and that match will mark the start, will mark the start of the 26-27 UEFA Nations League campaign, where Cymru have been drawn in League A Group 4 alongside Portugal, Denmark and Norway. Ticket information for the match will be announced in due course. Jamie, what an opener, basically, for this, to open the Nations League. A first away match in September in Portugal, boiling hot probably, at one of the best stadia in Europe. I mean, what a fantastic way to kick off. And looks like Bellamy will be manager, even though there were rumours this week that it's possible he was going to Burnley. That's fallen through today, so he will be manager at the moment, unless somebody else grabs him. I mean, what a fantastic opening game!
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a phenomenal stadium from kind of I've seen games on the TV there. It looks a phenomenal stadium. I mean, I can't imagine many of the players will have played there, so it'll be a great experience. I'm sure it'd be a great place to go, if you're lucky enough to be able to go and watch it. It'd be interesting to see though what the setup is with management, like you've said. I find it hard to. I find it quite hard to see how Bellamy stays on, if I'm honest.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think. There's no smoke without fire. For everything that was being said up until today was that it was practically a done deal. They'd negotiated a compensation package with FAW, and it was, he was going to. I read something. He was going to treble his wages or something like that. But then obviously something's happened. Whose side that is on, I don't know. But it's going to be. It'll be interesting to see whether it is Bellamy still in charge, because I think it's going to be quite hard for him to kind of carry on, because like I say, no smoke without fire.
The interesting bit is that the two names now in the hat for Burnley, Steve Cooper and Rob Edwards, are the two names that were in the hat to replace Bellamy if he went. And let's not forget, Craig Bellamy, before all the rumours about Burnley, said, he can't think of a greater achievement and the best thing of his life to lead out Cymru at that first game in Euro 2028 at the Principality Stadium, and how it would be a high water mark, and he wants to do the Euros and then maybe go on to domestic management. And then as soon as Burnley kind of showed him, a little bit of interest, he seems to have been 1 foot outside the door. So I think certainly his integrity is now being questioned, and I think it will weaken his position. Just be interesting to see, how that develops from that point of view. But I mean, I'm tempted. I am tempted. I've not been abroad with Cymru for a while because I used to go on a regular basis, but then you get a family and the cost and everything, and you kind of you don't do it as much anymore. But I am tempted because this stadium would definitely be on my bucket list. So we'll watch this space. You never know. I might have to disappear off in the international break and pop and see Cymru versus Portugal.
What's a Portuguese delicacy? You'll have to get a new flag made.
I don't know. Actually, that's a very good question. I don't know. I don't know.
Let me Google it.
Google what's a Portuguese delicacy. Because. Unless it's probably going to be fish in it, and unless it's battered and with chips, I'm not really interested where that's concerned.
Oh yeah, you're right. Portuguese delicacies feature Atlantic seafood, rich pork from Iberian black pigs, and pastries is another one.
Well, pastries we can do. That's not a problem. But I'm not doing fish unless it is cold and it's in batter, because that's the only way you should do fish.
Eat more chips. Don't let Nando's win. There you go.
There we go. Well done indeed. Cymru Women will face Albania in the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup European Playoff first round, and then either Romania or Norway should they progress to the second round. Each round will be played over 2 legs. The first round will take place during the October international window, with Cymru away for the first leg on Friday the 9th of October and the home for the second leg on Tuesday the 13th of October. Cymru, of course, played Albania in the qualifying group previous to this, beating them 4-0 at the Stoke Kairas and then a narrow 1-0 win away in Albania. If they win that fixture on aggregate, the second round will take place during the November-December international window, with Cymru being at home for the first leg because we would be unseeded. That would be on Tuesday the 1st of December, and away for the second leg, which is Saturday the 5th of December against the winner of Romania. They're ranked 53rd in the world, or Norway, currently managed by ex-Cymru manager Gemma Granger, who was the last manager before Rhian Wilkinson took over. They've qualified for every World Cup since 1991, and they've been World Cup winners in 1995, and they're currently ranked 14 in the world. So Jamie, I know this is a little bit out of your comfort zone because this is normally a Daz question. Obviously, we got Albania again. We've just played Albania across 2 legs. We beat them on aggregate 5-0. So you'd like to hope that would be a fairly simple tie. But probably it's going to be Norway, because you can't really see Romania beating Norway over 2 legs. That is going to be really tough, isn't it? Because Norway are an absolute powerhouse in European women's football and world women's football, in fact.
Yeah, I mean the Albanian game. I mean, you're right. We should be very confident just on the back of the results we've had against them recently, and I guess there is a huge positive in there that it's not just the fact that we've had the better of them, but it's that familiarity, isn't it, of playing them fairly recently. We'll have a good idea of how they play and the setup and everything else. So that's probably a good first game for us. But like you say, you'd assume, having said that, we thought we were going to be playing Italy in the men's playoff final, didn't we?
Yes.
But yeah, you're right. You would assume it would be Norway in the final, and yeah, like you say, they're a powerhouse in. I mean, to be honest with you, they're a powerhouse in international football in both genders. Absolutely. At the minute. They're doing brilliant things in the World Cup as well. So that won't be an easy game. But look, we've played this game before. We've got to be really careful looking too far ahead, and we need to just concentrate on the first game and getting that job done first and foremost.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Cymru will kick off their UEFA Under-19 European Championship campaign this Sunday as Cymru host its first ever men's UEFA age group finals tournament. Cymru will host the 2026 Under-19s Euro finals across North Wales, with matches commencing on this Sunday, as I said, 28th of June to the 11th of July. Cymru were drawn in Group A and will face 9 times winners of this competition, Spain, previous winners Germany and Denmark. Cymru will kick off versus Spain on Sunday the 28th, kick off 6 p.m. at the Stoke Kairas. Then Cymru versus Germany on Wednesday the 1st of July, 8 o'clock p.m. BST kick-off again at the Stoke Kairas. And then finally Cymru versus Denmark on Saturday the 4th of July at 2 p.m. BST again at the Stoke Kairas. Cymru's group stage matches will be available to watch live on UEFA TV along with S4C, and coverage will be available on S4C Click, BBC iPlayer and Scoriora's YouTube channel if you're watching either in the UK or abroad. The top 2 teams in each group will advance to the semi-finals, and the tournament also serves as a UEFA's qualification pathway to the 2027 FIFA Under-20 World Cup, which will be hosted by Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan. Jamie, me and you are going on Sunday to see Cymru versus Spain, watching the future of both Cymru and Spanish football. We've seen how strong current Spanish football is. Are you looking forward to seeing what could be a very, very tasty tie on Sunday?
I am looking forward to it. I think we talk a lot on here during the season about the Wrexham youth teams and things, and we always say the same thing, which is it's very difficult to actually ever watch any of the games and things like that. So I'm really looking forward. I mean, apart from the fact that it's obviously going to be live football, which even though it's only been a matter of weeks, it does feel like it's been forever. Although we've got the World Cup on the TV, it's horrible when you're in the off season.
Yeah.
So being able to watch some live football is going to be great. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because it'll be good to see what kind of standard we're at. Both, like you say, the Spanish national teams are, and the national players are right up there, aren't they? They're amongst some of the very best in the world. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what they're like at this level. And then, like you say, with the future of Wales in mind, it'll be fascinating to see, what kind of team have we got.
I mean, how tough is this going to be? Because obviously Cymru have not had to qualify because we're hosts. England didn't manage to qualify. They got knocked out in the qualifying round, so they're not here in this competition. How tough do you think it's going to be to take on both Spain and Germany, as well as Denmark, in the kind of group stages?
Yeah, I think we've got to be realistic, haven't we? You're playing against some powerhouses of international football. It doesn't matter what age group it is. You know for a fact, Germany, France, Spain, even England. I know they haven't qualified, but generally they are good players at this level. So, I don't think we should be going into it expecting to like blitz these teams. But you just hope that we can be competitive. That's all you want to see, because from our point of view, a lot of these players will hopefully in 3, 5, 10 years time will be players that we're talking about, hopefully qualifying the Welsh national senior team for Euros, Championships and World Cups and things. So yes, it'll be really interesting to kind of see how it all plays out. But I think we've got to be realistic on and set expectations. But I'm looking forward to it. It'd be good.
Well, last week, Wrexham Women finally found out who they will play in the semi-final of the first qualifying round of the Champions League, which is very, very exciting. And Wrexham are playing FC Punic in the semi-final draw, with the other game in our Group 3, being Glentoran versus FC Riga from Latvia. So, the other great news, apart from that, is, and there was a little bit of a delay where we were trying to work out what was going on, but also Wrexham have also won the right to host this mini tournament with these 4 teams at the Stoke Kairas. Jamie, before we go into the nitty gritty of this for Wrexham Women, a European night back at the Stoke Kairos, and it will be a night time because Wrexham's first game, the semi-final, is on a Wednesday evening. I mean, the first time since the 90s that Wrexham has hosted European football. I mean, this is super exciting, isn't it? I mean, did you ever go to any European games? I can't remember.
No, I'm not as old as you.
Thanks. Thanks
I'm old. You're ancient.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I didn't. Look, I hope to see the day when the Wrexham men's team are once again competing in Europe. Given what's happened over the last few years, it's possible. But again, like we were talking about before, I know some people kind of turn their nose up, for want of a better phrase, at women's football. The bottom line is like you say, it's Champions League football back at the Kairos. The gender shouldn't make any difference. And I hope the club, do a decent job of generating some interest in this, because it's obviously it's interesting where I think what they've done with the ticketing is fair. It's a good way of doing it. But I think obviously the fact that the Wrexham game is in the evening is going to be a massive thing, and I just hope there's a good number there to support them. Fingers crossed we'll have a couple of new, additional new players through the door as well, which would be good. And apart from anything else, we've got an opportunity here, haven't we, to tick the boxes on some firsts at this level. Score a goal for starters.
Yep.
For all the times that Cardiff and Swansea have won the league and have entered the Champions League at this stage. They've never scored a goal. They've never won a game. So we've got an opportunity to continue what we finished last season with creating, history. And I think as far as first games go, it's probably the best one we could have had. I can't claim to be an expert on Punic, to be honest. But
hold this thought, because you will be in
yeah.
about 10 minutes. You will be an expert on FC Punic. Wrexham obviously have been chosen to host this mini tournament. The important dates, put them in your diary now. Wednesday, 22nd of July, kick-off 1 p.m. BST. The Stoke Kairos will host the semi-final number 1, which is Northern Ireland champions Glentoran versus FC Riga from Latvia. And then at 7 p.m. BST on the same day, Wrexham will play FC Punic from Armenia. The game is a standard 90 minutes plus extra time. With extra time as required. If the game is drawn at the end of normal time, will play extra time, and then if the game remains drawn at extra time, of course, the tie will go to penalties. We don't want to do that, please. We don't want to do penalties. Wrexham win, obviously, this game on the Wednesday. They will then play the winner between Glentoran and Riga, and that game will be on Saturday, the 25th of July, kick-off 6 p.m. BST. Wrexham lose their game against FC Punic, and they will play the loser from Glentoran versus Riga in the third place playoff, and that would be at 12 noon BST on Saturday the 25th. Should they win both games, of course, so should they beat FC Punic and should they beat the winner of Glentoran versus FC Riga, they would then progress to the second qualifying round. Tickets are on sale by Wrexham AFC. You can buy a day ticket for each one, just £15 for adults, £6 for under 18s, which is fantastic. If you just want to buy a single ticket for the match, for a match, either the Wrexham match or the Glentoran Riga match, that will cost £10 for adults, £5 for under 18s. If you're a women's season ticket holder, if you were last season, you can renew your season ticket now for £32 for the season, and that's an absolute bargain, because yes, it will get you a discount on this and you're still got to pay for this one, but £32 basically means you get 10 matches for this next season coming of Wrexham Women's domestic football. That's £3.20 a game. I mean, that's just crazy, and I'll ask Jamie's thoughts on that in a second. But it's £32 at the moment if you want to buy an adult season ticket, and then if you do have a season ticket, you get a 50% discount on all tickets. So you get your day ticket for £7.50, and you get your match ticket for £5 for an adult, which is absolutely brilliant. There is also going to be hospitality, and you can go on the Wrexham website to purchase any of those. Go out now, go and buy it, because trust me, it will be something that you'll want to be there. Wednesday night under the lights in the summer. Hopefully we'll have lovely weather. It'll be a lovely evening. We can get a hot dog and a nice cold drink. There's an event on at the Mice Gwyn. There's a Welcome to Wrexham event on at the Mice Gwyn before the game, where they've got producers and editors in, so you could go and catch that as well. It's going to be absolutely brilliant, and it'll be worth it, definitely, from that point of view. And that's my plug over. So Jamie, before I go into the opposition, what do you think of the kind of the ticket prices for that? 15 quid for a day ticket where you can watch both games, which I've bought. And so I've basically spent because I've got a women's season ticket, so I've spent £7.50 on the Wednesday and £7.50 on the Saturday. 15 quid, I get to see all 4 games. I mean, that's an absolute bargain, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think they've done it. I think they've done the right thing with the tickets and the way they've done it. By grouping them together. Be interested to see kind of how many people go and watch the games that Wrexham are not involved in, and likewise how the games that Wrexham are involved in. Although you have just reminded me of something which I didn't realise, because not long ago I bought a women's season ticket this year, even though I don't know how many games I'm going to be able to get to. But like you say, it works out good value. So I bought a women's season ticket, but then when I went to go and buy the ticket, because I can only go to the Punic game of the 2 games Wrexham are going to be involved in. I can't go to any on the Saturday, unfortunately, because I'm working. And I can't do the earlier game on the Wednesday. I can literally only do the Wrexham Punic game on the Wednesday evening. So I bought a ticket for that as well. But I just realised I've been charged 10 quid.
Because you clicked the wrong button, because there are 2. There's one that says general entry, and there's one that will say ST or WST.
No. There was only one. I'm sure there was only one, because there's a priority window for season ticket holders, isn't there?
Yeah.
You can't buy a general ticket at the moment. You have to have a women's season ticket. Anyway, that's by the by. But
I mean, you could always just get in touch with the ticket office, and I'm sure they'll give you a refund, because you are a season ticket holder. So, anyway, from that point of view, I mean, there were. I mean, again, as we spoke about last night, there were lots of teething troubles when it was announced yesterday that you can renew your women's season ticket and you can go and get your tickets, and then people did, and then it wasn't working. Some people could renew their women's season ticket for free. Which they then got an email from saying you've got it, you're zero, and then they got another email after that saying, "Yeah, sorry, that was a mistake, and we'll charge you for it."
And you've got to pay £3 postage.
Yeah, and then some people were trying desperately to buy tickets and they couldn't. So, yeah, they again, it might be Ticketmaster, it might be Wrexham Ticket Office, who knows? It just seems to be a general thing of, it doesn't matter how much preparation there seems to be, there always seems to be a bit of a problem. But anyway, the important bit is, yeah, absolutely, get down there, because Wednesday night, it's the perfect as well. I mean, do you think it's quite a good thing as well that they've put the Glentoran and Riga game in the afternoon first, and they've moved the Wrexham game to the evening, giving as many people a chance as possible, but to basically. Then there's not work involved in anything like that. You can get out of work, go and have a quick cold drink, and then pop in for a 7 o'clock kickoff. I mean, I think that's a masterstroke for me, that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's either great planning or great luck. Because obviously, what I don't know is I don't know how much. How much UEFA have kind of dictated and said, you have to have these games at these times or whatever, or how much. Because if that's the case, then we've been obviously lucky, because I think it would have made a huge difference to the attendance if the Wrexham game would have been the early one on the Wednesday.
Yes.
Because like you say, it's going to be school holidays. It's going to be lots of people will be working anyway in the daytime. So the fact that it's in the evening hopefully opens it up to. Hopefully opens it up to more people being able to go just purely because of the time it is. Yeah, like I say, it's like, hopefully a nice summer's evening. I mean, how many was at the Cardiff game?
Just under 5,000, I think. Just under 5,000. But I mean, we filled the Wrexham Lager stand, obviously. It was full top and bottom. So I think it was.
I don't know what do you think?
It's difficult, this one, because they've opened up, obviously, the Mold Road stands. They've opened up PG4 and PG5 initially. So it'll be interesting to see. You'd like to hope that as it gets closer, people will. I mean, Tim. I was listening to Tim on Fearless in Devotion today. I know he's a massive advocate for European football. I'd hope that he would make it. I know he's busy. I know he's got work. But the fact that it's a Wednesday evening, and he said as well that he wants to come to more women's matches. Tim, come along, please. We need people like you to be there and sing and make a noise and do all that kind of stuff, because you're as passionate a Wrexham fan as any of us, and it'd be great to have you there. So yeah, definitely come along and drag as many of the other boys, if there are any of them that are local. I'm thinking about Liam particularly. To come along. I'm hoping that the town will turn out, because it'd be great if we could just fill the road stand. That'd be 3,000 or 4,000. I mean, that's great for a first qualifying game. And as I say, it's the first time Cymru has hosted a game at this level for 10 years. It's the first time North Wales has ever hosted a game in the Women's Champions League. So this is a real red letter moment from this point of view. So yeah, and for the money you're paying, it's an absolute steal. It's a deal. It's a steal. It's a sale of the century, as they say. Anyway, obviously we'll talk in a second, Jamie, about what you think Wrexham Women's chances are going to be. But we know one team we're definitely going to play, which is fine, and we know potentially another two teams, one of which we could play. So I've done a little bit of scouting, only to the point of view looking at their kind of history. Now, we have to take this with a pinch of salt, and we'll explain why in a second. Let's first of all look at Riga FC. Riga FC, the Latvian Women's Football League champions from last year. They secured the title with 3 rounds still remaining in the 24-25 season, because that's what they played. They played in the 25 season. They're just about to start the 26 season, because their season is. And this is the thing you'll find with all these teams. All their seasons start at different times, and I'll explain that in a second, to the point where Glentoran and Riga are already playing. They've already started their season, so they will be hitting the ground running from that point of view. But Riga, they won their last season with 3 rounds remaining. They won all 24 of their games played, so played 24, won 24, scored 180 goals. In the
180
league.
goals?
Yes, 180 goals. The league has 8 teams in it. So far this year, because they've started this year's league, they are joint top after 8 games in it. But as I said, there's 8 teams in the league. In the Champions League first qualifying, they won their semi-final last year 4-1 versus Flora from Estonia, but lost in the final 2-1 to Racing Union from Luxembourg, who are one of the top seeds in this first round. With regards to players you should watch, going from left to right, forward Kumba Zainab Brima is 24, and she has scored 15 goals in all competitions last season. Midfielder Katrina Danilova is 22, and she's scored 6 so far this season. And midfielder Anna Belova is 19, and she has scored 7 goals so far in the previous so far this year. So Jamie, we have to take this with a pinch of salt, because you might look at that and you might go, okay, well, this is a team who's won 24 out of 24, scored 180 goals. They must be incredible. But they've never ever proceeded past the first round of qualifying in their 3 attempts in the past 3 years. They've always lost in the first qualifying round to other teams. So you have to take these stats, can't you, with a pinch of salt, because we don't know what standard of football is in Riga, do we?
Not a clue, and that's the fundamental point to all of these teams that that we're with at this stage. There's going to be very limited footage, I would imagine, of these teams and things like that. It's not like we're going to be. It's not like we've got an army of scouts that we will have sent out to watch these games. So I think that, for me, that's one of the most interesting thing about these games is what level of opposition are we facing? How would they fit into the Adran Prem? like you say, on paper, you look at the stats of these teams, and it's like scored 180 goals and won this many games, that many games, and you think to yourself, Jesus, they must be just like a team of Katie Barkers. But we've no idea, have we? We've no idea what kind of level we're going to be dealing with, and what's difficult, I suppose, for Jenny Sugarman and the coaches is it's going to be the same for them, and they're going to have very limited kind of knowledge of what they're going to be facing. So, it'll be fascinating, I think, to see what kind of standard are we going up against.
Well, we could play Riga, obviously, depending on what happens in the first game. Or we could play Glentoran, who obviously are from Belfast. They're the Women's Premiership in Northern Ireland winners. In 2025, they won 16 out of their 17 games. In, again, another 8-team league. They scored 67 goals. They've won the league 4 times in the last 5 years. Again, they've already started this year's league campaign. They are currently joint top with 4 wins out of 4, scoring 21 goals and only conceding 2. They've never made it again out of the first round of qualifying in 10 attempts over 20 years. They last qualified 23-24. They lost in the semi-final 3-2 to Zeneke Mura from Slovenia, but beat, ironically, FC Punic 1-0 in the third place playoff that year. Of their kind of top 3 goal scorers, midfielder Amy Kerr on the left is 20. She's currently scored 6 goals so far this season. Forward Gracie Conway is in the middle, is 19. She's scored 5 so far this season. And midfielder Mia Moore on the right is 19, and she's also scored 5 goals so far this season. Jamie, because this team obviously is from Northern Ireland, just across the Irish Sea, this is probably closer to football that we might relate to, because obviously with Armenia and with Latvia, you're kind of thinking you're not quite sure what kind of football they're going to play, but you would like to think that this kind of play would be something that Wrexham Women would be more used to.
Yes, I would say what the probably the one big difference between these and the other 2 teams is, I would imagine that they would be able to find out more about this team and this style of play. Not necessarily blessed with lots of footage to be able to watch and things, but there'll be people they'll be able to ask about more readily, won't they? About what kind of what are we facing, what kind of standard have we got to face here? Again, it's still, for me, it's still in the same realms of the other 2 teams, in that it'll be fascinating to see kind of what standard, because obviously we watch the Adrian Prem every week, and we know that when we play Cardiff and Swansea and TNS, that they're like the best teams in the league, and then the other 4 can be pretty poor. Well, we don't know even with these, do we? So it'd be interesting to see, I suppose. I think of the other 3 teams in this little mini competition, this is definitely the one they're going to be able to find out the most about, I think, just purely because of the geographical kind of position of where they are in the world.
The one team, obviously, we know we're definitely going to play, which will be on Wednesday the 22nd, 7 p.m. BST, will be FC Punic from Yerevan in Armenia. They're the Women's Premier League champions. The Women's Premier League is a 4-team league. They won all 18 games played in that league, scored 107 goals. They conceded only 8 and won the league by 24 points. Last year, in the first round of the Champions League qualifiers, they beat NSA Sofia from Bulgaria in the semi-final, but lost 1-0 to Macedonian side Lubotin, 4-0 in the final. They have never, again, got further than the first qualifying round in the 3 years that they've been qualifying for this competition. Of their leading goal scorers, again from left to right, midfielder Veronica Asatiran is 24. She has scored 27 goals last season, so she's their kind of Katie Barker by the looks of it. That makes her the top goal scorer in their league as well last year. Midfielder Luisa Garazayan, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, I apologise. She's 26 in the middle. She scored 23 goals last season. And midfielder Annie Karapetian is 25 and she scored 20 goals last season. Now again, Jamie, it's a 4-team league. right? You're in a league with 4 teams, so you play the same 3 sides so many times. I would imagine to do 18 games. You score 107 goals and you only let 8 in. What does that say to you about the standard potentially of this Premier League in Armenia?
I mean, it suggests it's not particularly high standard. I mean, how can you operate a league of 4 teams? You know what I mean?
Last year there was only 3. There was only 3 last year, and obviously they won that one as well because you're only playing. You've got a 33% chance of winning it without even trying because there's only 3 of you in there.
I mean, again, you like you said, you have to take these with a pinch of salt because you look at the stats and you think, Jesus, they've won all their games, they scored 100 and however many goals. But you've got to look at it and think, what kind of standard are you talking about? I mean, I love the fact you apologise for the pronunciation of the lady's name in the middle, like she's going to be listening.
You never know. You never know. If you are listening in Armenia, welcome, and we look forward to seeing you in July.
But yeah, again, it's really difficult, isn't it, to know what kind of where on the basis that there's 4 teams in the league, 3 teams last season. You said they've won every game. They conceded. How many goals they conceded?
8.
8 goals throughout.
8 goals in 18 games.
In an 18-game season, 8 goals.
Yeah.
It tells you, or it would suggest that it's a poor standard. But then, how does that relate to the Adran Prem? We don't know, do we? We don't. This is the problem, and I think this is what's so fascinating about these games. Is it's for me, it's a huge unknown. We know what we've got with our Wrexham team. We know what they're capable of. We know the strengths of the players, our strong players, our dangerous players. But what we don't know is how they compare to these guys or any of the other 2 teams. The only thing you'd say is you would assume at this stage it's a similar kind of level, because if these players were like worldies compared to what we get in the Adran Prem, you'd think they'd be picked up by teams around Europe, wouldn't you? So look, it'll be fascinating to see. All I hope is that obviously I want Wrexham to win and progress. That would be fantastic. But I think more than anything else, you want us to be competitive, don't you? That's the main thing. The last thing you want is for us to play against any of these teams and get hammered because the level is actually way higher than what we're capable of.
And that might happen.
It might do.
That might happen because there is so much unknown here.
Yeah.
With regards to what standard these 3 teams actually play at, because we can only look at the stats and we can't compare because there is no way to. We've never had a direct link apart from we can look back at Welsh sides within this competition, and we've seen Cardiff over the last 3 years. We've seen Swansea City before that, and the fact they've not even scored a goal in 6 years. I mean, yes, they had to travel. I mean, this is the thing for me, Jamie. How much of an advantage would you say it is us hosting, us being at home?
You'd assume it should be a big advantage. Obviously, the only thing is it depends on the attendance, doesn't it? If you put it in the Kairos and we only end up with 300 or 400 people, it's not going to be a huge advantage. I don't think that's going to be the case. I would expect there to be at least. I'd be flabbergasted if there isn't at least a couple of thousand. But yes, you'd have to say it is an advantage because it's home turf, isn't it? We Dale made the point, I think, on Eurofair Pod that at least by the fact that it's in outside the Kairos, the family and the friends of the players and things will be able to kind of attend, barring any kind of work commitments or whatever. But if it was in Armenia, I mean, it would be very difficult, wouldn't it? Because it's quite far away, isn't it? So yeah. You've got to assume it will be an advantage. Anything at home, you've got to assume it will be an advantage. But I think it will heavily depend on the attendance, to be honest.
So let's go with the knowns. Okay, we know the standard that Wrexham Women are currently playing at. We've seen them dispatch just about every side in the Gennaro Adran Premier, plus a number of teams at the lower level through the cups. We obviously won the Adran Trophy. We went out in the Welsh Cup in the semi-final stage to Cardiff City. We're going to be at home. We're going to have at least one new player with Michaela Cook, and obviously I didn't get your take on that one, Jamie. The fact that we've signed, one of Cardiff's 3 best players last season, the player who scored that first goal at the Kairos, from a free kick, and then came over.
Is that the one that ran over to you and did the ISL?
That's the one who came and did, and I absolutely lost my doodah to the point where even Richie said to me, "This kid's over there." So yeah, not my finest moment, but I totally. And this is the thing, you see, this is the irony of it. Michaela Cook was on my list of players I absolutely detested last season, and now she's wearing one of our shirts. So this is going to be weird. It's going to be weird for me. It's going to take me a while to get used to the fact is that she now plays for us. And it's interesting, there's a fair bit of that. We heard today that Katie Hosford, who absolute Swansea stalwart forward, won so many titles with Swansea in the past, has just signed for Britain Ferry. So there seems to be a lot of kind of key players who are kind of moving around. Obviously, we saw 2 of our key players going to TNS. So it's going to be a mix-up when the season comes next year. But we're going to be at the Kairos. We're going to have hopefully a decent crowd. Whatever the ultras are going to be behind them, whatever, making a lot of noise. We've seen what they can do. They are absolutely going to be motivated for this. Yes, it's a cup game potentially. Well, it is a cup game, so anything can happen. But surely you must think, well, we can score. It's all about tiers, isn't it? Score a goal, win your semi-final, win your final. Those are the kind of 3 key markers that you'd be looking at. Score a goal with Katie Barker and Lily and Maria Francis-Jones and now Michaela Cook and Maz Mahmood and others. You'd like to think, wouldn't you, that we could score a goal? Are we both agreed on that?
Yeah, I agree, but we're basing this purely on the fact that we only know the Wrexham side of this story. This picture, we only know the Wrexham side of it. I think, it's pretty interesting when you think about it that, take Cardiff, for example, have been in this position for the last, 4 out of the last 5 seasons or something like that.
Yep.
And they've not managed to score. They've not managed to score a goal.
No.
And you think to yourself, well, hang on a minute. They were the team to beat in the Adran Prem for the last few years.
Yes.
And they've not managed to score a goal against similar opposition.
They won treble, double treble.
Yeah,
in the 3 years.
Granted, the teams they've played weren't Punic or the other 2 that we're potentially facing, but it will have been teams of a similar ilk, and they've not managed to score a goal. So I agree with you based on, like you say, Katie Barker and what she did last season and the players that we've got. And this is even before we potentially brought in any more players. You go into it thinking, oh, absolutely, score a goal. We're definitely going to be able to do that. But you just don't know, dear, because it is so unknown what we're going to be facing. It is a huge unknown. But yes, I agree with you. At this moment in time, yeah, we have to be confident that we can score a goal at least.
Well, as I say, tickets are on sale. Go and buy your tickets. Let's fill out the Mode Road stand and give the club a headache with regards to, do we open another stand? I don't think they will. But let's fill out the Mode Road stand at least. Because that would be fairly intimidating to sit, without a shadow of a doubt. And that's what we want. We want an atmosphere at the Stoke Kairos similar to the atmosphere that we had for that Cardiff game. And look what happened to that. So I think I'm positive. I'm fairly positive, as I said the other day on this one. I'm 60% positive that we can win this game. I think the final then would be much more difficult. I think that's much more of a coin toss, because I think it's probably going to be Glentoran, because Glentoran have got so much experience in the qualifiers, and I think that will be a tricky game. But let's one step at a time. Let's score a goal. I'll be really upset if we don't score a goal, because we should be able to score a goal with the firepower that we have, and then win it. And I think that would be great, because that would be a fantastic buzz, and then take it to the Saturday evening to then to go to the final, and then it's a cup final, and we'll just see what happens. But anyway, good luck to Wrexham Women. Go out and buy your tickets. Absolute steal. Worth it. Worth every penny. So the day has arrived that fans of Wrexham have been eagerly awaiting, as fixtures for the 2026-27 season were finally released. And finally we can start thinking about going back to normal domestic football with no hydration breaks, no advertising stops, no VAR nonsense, which does or does not work depending on what teams you seem to be involved in. All that craziness, that we've seen with the World Cup. Get back some proper domestic football, which is great. First of all, the draw was made today, as we're recording Thursday, for the first round of the Carabao Cup. This round is regionalised, and so Wrexham were in the northern half of the draw, and Wrexham have been drawn against Middlesbrough away in the first round of the Cup, to be played on the weekend of the 7th to the 9th of August. Wrexham obviously reached the fourth round of this competition last year before being knocked out by Cardiff City at home. Now, Jamie, we already know that Phil Parkey has said, and whether he meant it or not, we don't know, but Phil Parkey has basically said, we're going to use this as our final warm-up game because we are going to be in America. And of course, I'm just looking at the calendar now, we have our last game in America on Sunday the 2nd of August against Sunderland. And then this game then would be the following weekend. So 5 days, potentially, between 5 and 7 days after that. Obviously, this means that they would play in America, and then obviously have to fly back, and then probably have a little bit of a rest, and then get into training. Are we unlucky, the fact that we pulled Middlesbrough? Would it have been better if we had pulled a League Two side? Are we unlucky that we're away? It's not a great trip to do, because it's a fairly long one. If you're from Wrexham, it's even longer for me from where I am. And it's not a team that we can just go, oh well, we can put in a reserve side. We're going to have to play fairly full strength. I mean, maybe that's what Parkey wants. He's as he said, he's using it as his final training game. I mean, is this just a case of, do you know what, we just throw the dice? We're probably going to lose because Middlesbrough are going to be up for this. We're away from home, and let's just hope that nobody gets injured. Or am I just being too pessimistic?
No, I don't think so. It's not a great draw for either team, to be honest. I think probably better for Middlesbrough just purely because they're at home. But I'm pretty sure neither side wanted another championship team at this stage. Like you say, Parkey's already been very clear about the fact that he plans to use this game as a final pre-season game. What that means, I don't know, because you would like to assume, or history tells you normally, that as you go through your pre-season, the closer you get to your first proper game of the season, the closer you get to your starting 11. Yeah. So you'd like to think that if he's going to treat this as a final pre-season game, you would like to think that, barring fatigue from the trip to America or any niggling injuries, you would like to think that this is going to be a team close to what we would expect to see for the first home game of the season. The first league game of the season. I don't know. It's hard to know, because it's hard to know what he means by using it as a friendly, as a pre-season game. He might be thinking, on the last game in the States, that's going to be my first team, and then when I get to this game, I'm going to play a lot of the second string as a last kind of who's going to make a push to be in the squad kind of scenario. I don't know. Like you say, it's not a great draw for us, just purely because of the travel involved. It's a bit of a shame, really, because if we do end up losing and going out, it's not the end of the world at all. But I think the only two kind of negatives to that is one, if you think last season, we got to the fourth round, sorry. And those first three rounds were quite valuable last season because it allowed him to play and give competitive minutes to players that weren't in the first league team, if you like.
Yeah.
So if we end up losing this, that's gone. Straight away, that's gone. You've lost that. Which is one thing. And I think the only other thing which I don't think it's a big deal, but it's something that you do have to factor in. But if we do end up losing this game, and then obviously the following week we've then got the start of the season, and obviously as we're going to talk about in a minute, that's not an easy first game.
No.
If you end up with losing this, and then if by some bad luck you end up losing that first league game of the season as well, you know what I mean? It's you before you know it, it's not a great start. So yeah, I don't know. It's a shame. It's Middlesbrough. And certainly away.
I find it quite ironic that our last game of the last season was Middlesbrough, where we drew, and then the first game of this new season is also Middlesbrough. It happens to be away. I just find that interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing for me, Jamie, is I think this would be tough enough. The fact that we're going to Middlesbrough, a team, let's not forget, who were in the playoff finals, whether they deserved it or not, doesn't matter. They were in the playoff finals and could have gone up to the Premier League if it weren't for losing to Hull. They're going to be up for this. They're absolutely going to be up for this. It might be, they might see this as we need to make a statement. They're going to be at home in front of their fans, particularly after the disappointment of losing to Hull in that playoff final. It would already be difficult anyway. The fact that we're going to be coming off, jet lag, all the players are going to be out in America for 3 weeks. So they will have acclimatized to that, and then they'll be flying back, and then they'll have to be given some time at least to try and settle back into their normal lives before then going back into some training and trying to get acclimatized. Before then, we've got to traipse up to Middlesbrough to play them. I mean, I think it's.
I might be wrong. I can't remember, but was it the same? I know it's surprising that I'm not often wrong. Was it the same last season?
No.
Was the first? I don't remember the first round being.
Yeah, so the last year there was the league game was first, and then midweek was the Carabao Cup, which was Hull. If you remember, we had Hull at home, and we managed to just about beat them thanks to.
I don't remember because when I kind of saw this, I was like, I don't remember the first game of the season being Carabao Cup.
They've moved it this season, so they've put the Carabao Cup up first, and then they've pushed the start of the league season a little bit further on. Which we'll explain why in a second.
I mean, look, it is what it is. Ultimately, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what Parky does with the game. Kind of how close to our starting league team is it going to be? Who knows? And look, we just got to try. We need to just try and get out of the game whatever he wants to get out of it. Whether that's giving minutes to fringe players or whatever, I don't know. But I think we've got to keep our expectations quite low on progressing this year in the Carabao Cup. I think because the way he's already stated how he's going to use this game and the fact that we've drawn Middlesbrough away, I think it's going to be a tough ask to get through.
And that wouldn't be such a bad thing, was it? Because if our legitimate goal within the league, and we'll discuss this in a couple of weeks, is to have a realistic go at getting promoted to the Premier League. We saw last season how much the FA Cup hurt us, and let's not deny it. People will say, yeah, but it was a brilliant night. Yeah, Chelsea was a brilliant night, but after that Chelsea game, there was a massive hangover. There's no doubting about that. And I'm not saying for a second that if it wasn't for the Chelsea game, if it wasn't for the Nottingham Forest game, we wouldn't have had that hangover. It might be. But you can't deny, can you, that game definitely seemed to affect our performance after that, to the point where potentially that was one of the key reasons why maybe we missed out by so close on actually getting a playoff place.
Yeah, it's a very valid point, because I must admit I was thinking something similar when I was watching Welcome to Wrexham, and they're obviously covering the Chelsea game, and reminded of the fact that obviously George Dobson gets sent off thanks to VAR, and we had to play that extra time with 10 men, and like you say, in the immediate weeks and games after that Chelsea game, there was a hangover from it, which is understandable because the amount of effort that they put in to that game was unbelievable. So I kind of agree with you to a point, but I go back to what I said before. I think nobody's expecting Wrexham to get into the quarters, semis, or final, or even win the League Cup. Absolutely not. But I think to get 3 or 4 rounds out of it earlier on in the season, I think can be quite beneficial because, like I say, it gives the opportunity for Parky to give competitive minutes to some of those players who can't get near the 16 on a match day. 25-man squad, that's a lot of players to keep happy when you're picking the same 16 or 18 players, including substitutes.
You just want to see Davis Keeler-Dunn play more than 10 minutes, don't you? That's what it is. I know. I mean, that's a whole other debate, isn't it? I mean, it'd be fascinating to see what happens with him because, if he's still at the club, if he doesn't go out on loan or something, does he get a chance? Question. Yep. No, it's a big call. Anyway, so following on from that, Wrexham's second season in the Championship, the full fixture list was announced, and Wrexham will kick off the 2026-27 EFL Championship season at Cardiff City away, to be played not in the weekend with everybody else. Of course not, because Sky's got involved. It's being played on the Monday night, the 17th of August, kick-off 8 p.m. BST. I'll talk about the rest of the games now. This for me was the worst possible start for me because looking at their cup one as well, they've pulled Swindon at home in round 1 of the League Cup, so they'll be at home and then at home to us. They'll be against Swindon. So again, a side where you're thinking, well, they're probably going to win that. They're going to be so up for this game, like Swansea were up for it when we played them at their place first time. All my Cardiff City mates bombarded me with messages going, "We're going to take you apart. You're going to, you're not going to know way at you." To which obviously the only thing I can say is, well, you're going to need a good start because looking at last season, your finish is terrible because it looked like you were going to be nailed on champions, and then Lincoln basically just came up and strode past you. Don't get me wrong. Wrexham men have never played at the Cardiff City Stadium. Obviously, that's the national stadium for Cymru, so I've been there a number of times. It's 32,000 capacity, so potentially we would get 3,000. I've asked some of my Cardiff City mates, they reckon we'll get 2,500 because that seems to be the norm for this. It's a Monday night, Jamie, so it's the last game of the opening weekend, or everybody else will play before us. We'll get the last game. We're the last game on the bill. Thoughts? Good, bad, indifferent? As you rightly just said, if we don't do well against Middlesbrough and Cardiff do well against Swindon, as in absolutely pan them or something like that, or have a really good thing, they are going to be already up for it because they're playing us at home, and then they're going to have the extra push because they've started well, and we will have pressure already because we went to Middlesbrough and potentially got knocked out of the cup. Good start for Wrexham, bad start for Wrexham. What do you think?
I agree with you in that I think it's possibly the worst possible opening fixture we could have had. Wolves, West Ham, Burnley as the 3 relegated teams, any of those away would have been a tough one. Mm-hmm. But I think just purely on the basis that this is a fellow Welsh club, to have to play Cardiff away on the first game of the season, I think is the worst possible fixture we could have got. Forget the Carabao Cup the few days before for both them and us. Forget what happens in there. You're right with what you say about the fact that they've got a far more favourable game in that, and that might give them some impetus going into this game. But I think if you forget the Carabao Cup involvement for both teams, just purely on the basis that this is they're back in the Championship after being obviously in League One last season. They're at home. It's the first game of the season, and it's against Wrexham, who, they did a number on us last year when we played them in the Carabao Cup at the Kairos. They are going to go tooth and nail to beat us in this game.
Totally.
And look, I suppose if you try and look at it from our point of view, it's a huge test for a first game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe good in some ways to get it out of the way early on in the season. Is one thing, but I don't think, as much as I saw Parky's quote today saying how excited he is about it, I can't imagine he was overly chuffed about it, to be honest with you.
Because you have to get you have to get the team up for a game, because Parky, as he was said, and he will know how important. Because I said to my wife today, I said I don't give a monkeys who we do against any teams apart from Cardiff or Swansea. We must beat Cardiff or Swansea. I don't care about how we do against anybody else. For me, that's how important this is.
Not only that as well. I think there's a little bit of a legacy from. I know we finished the highest ranked Welsh team last year, which is great, but there's still a bit of a legacy from the Swansea away and the Cardiff at home games last year, isn't it?
Yes,
because we played so poorly in those games, that really stung amongst the fan base. Granted, I know we beat Swansea at home, but even that wasn't a particularly stellar performance. But okay, we beat them. Look, we can't write Wrexham off before we've even got to the game. We absolutely can't and shouldn't do that. I think you just have to be fair and say this is probably one of the worst opening fixtures we could have got. But look, if we are serious about trying to go better than what we did last season, and I think it's going to be very, very difficult. I mean, I know we'll do a more comprehensive review closer to the start of the season, but just as a passing comment, I think it's going to be very, very difficult next year because I think the league is going to be so difficult compared to the season just gone. I think it's almost going to be a little bit like National League season when we were fighting with Notts County. I think teams that are serious about getting promoted this year are going to get punished for dropping points. And I think that's the slight concern is that we if we get off to a bad start, we didn't get off to the best of starts last season, and we were able to recover. I just don't know whether we're going to have that luxury again this season, because I just don't think you're going to be able to afford to let teams get away from you this year. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as competitive. But like I say, look, there's a long way to go between now and then. We've no idea on what our team and our squad is going to look like. When we go into that game, I think we're all in agreement that we're hoping to see at least 4 or 5 new quality additions to the squad coming in. So look, you never know, and you have got to remember, and you've got to give credit to the fact that we're the Championship side. They've come up from the league below, so there is a little bit of pressure on them to prove that they deserve to be back in the Championship. Look, we'll see what happens, but it was probably the worst possible scenario for a first game of the season. And like you say, the fact that it's on a Monday night really for me kind of pisses on any chips of me being able to go to that game.
Well, that's it. I mean, there's what trains are going to come back after for an 8 o'clock 8 o'clock start. That means you need a train really at 10:30, 11:15. Transport for Wales don't run trains that late that go up to North Wales.
I mean, just the fact that it's a Monday night, makes it very difficult, and that is one of the games that I would have potentially liked to have seen if I could have gone to. But look, we had it all last season, and I think it's something that we're going to have again all this season. A lot of our games are going to be moved because whether we're struggling or whether we're up there again in the mix. There's an attraction to Wrexham, isn't there, for Sky and the broadcasters? So I think we will get affected by a lot of movements, I think, this season again.
Well, looking at the rest of the fixture list, after we've played Cardiff, we have Watford as our first home game. Then I think we've got Birmingham at home, Millwall away midweek, just after the transfer window closes, Swansea City away, Burnley at home midweek, and then the big game, West Ham United away at the Olympic Stadium on Saturday, the 12th of September. Jamie, is that a tie you're interested in? Because I know there are a couple of grounds I know you want to go and visit.
Yeah, I'm not overly fussed about going out of my way to get to to the whatever they call the West Ham Stadium. For me, it'll always be Upton Park. Will always be West Ham's get ground. But the fact that it used to be an athletic stadium, you end up with that horrible scenario what you see in Europe where you've got such a huge gap between the pitch and the fans, and that's just not something I am overly keen on. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I haven't sort of studied the fixture list hugely at this stage. There's not a lot of point anyway, because I think it's potentially up until the end of July. That's when we'll find out about fixture changes, isn't it?
They could move it. Yeah,
they might move stuff, and like I just said a minute ago, I can see the likes of when we're playing the likes of West Ham, Wolves, Burnley. These are the sort of games that are going to get moved by Sky. Sky will want to grab those games. I mean, West Ham, Burnley, Wolves. A lot of their games are going to be picked by Sky, aren't they? Just purely because they're expecting to be there.
West Ham and Burnley is the first game of the season. They basically picked the two Premier League sides from last season to play each other as the first game of the season. Other games, other dates of note: at home to Queen's Park Rangers just before Christmas, which is great. Boxing Day, we are away at Stoke City, so we're away on Boxing Day. We're at home to Blackburn Rovers between Christmas and New Year, and then we're at home to Bolton Wanderers on New Year's Day. Cardiff City at home is on Saturday, March the 6th, and Swansea City at home is on Saturday, the 10th of April. The run-in then, as you get towards the end of the season: Birmingham away, Millwall home, Charlton Athletic away, and Bristol City at home as the last game at home on the last game of the season, Saturday, 1st of May. Happy birthday to me. Jamie, we remember last season we had a stinky run-in with all the teams near the top. We basically had to take on, which I think hurt us. It's difficult, isn't it? Because we don't know what these teams are going to do. But you're kind of looking at that going, okay, Birmingham away, well, you know what we're going to get there. Millwall at home, that's going to be tough. But Charlton Athletic and Bristol City, Charlton Athletic away, Bristol City at home is the last two.
Yeah.
It could be worse. Could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, the run-in, when I looked at the running games, I think just being at home on the last game of the season was a good thing, because as we know from recent years, if we're in a position that's we need something from the game, you'd rather be at home than away. Outside of that, like you say, at this stage, you can't you can't look at that and say, oh, that's a good run-in, because we've no idea. Christ, I predicted Hull to get relegated last season.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, innit? We look at that and you think, oh, Charlton are going to be. You expect Charlton to be struggling at the bottom. You can't see Bristol, being up towards the top. They're going to probably just be a middle of the table, but we just don't know, do we?
But they've got Lincoln's managers, isn't they? The manager that got Lincoln up here, he's now manager of Bristol City. So
yeah, exactly.
Anything.
I mean, for me, fixture release day is looking at a few things. So obviously, looking at the Cardiff Swansea games, those were something I went to straight away. As we were talking a minute ago about the fact we've got Cardiff first game of the season, we've got Swansea away as well.
Yeah, very close,
within the first 5 games of the season, we've got Cardiff and Swansea away, which is not easy. That being said, I wonder whether the fact that we've then got to play Cardiff at home in March and Swansea at home in April, hopefully that might be something that's beneficial for us. The Christmas period was something I looked at again, because I love the festive football, as we talk about it every year. But as much as it's nice to be at home on Boxing Day, that's quite a nice little Christmas period. Away
not
to
far
Stoke
away,
is not a million miles away. So maybe want to try and get to, and then to have 2 home games on the Tuesday and the New Year's Day are good. The only thing I didn't really look for was the big teams, and kind of when we've got Wolves at home in November. Is, but like you say, Burnley at home in September, and then we got West Ham away in September. When have we got West Ham at home?
Probably going to be
February.
I'm not looking
February.
Yeah.
No, February.
I mean, for me, the ones that kind of on my marker, apart from obviously Cardiff and Swansea, are Wolves at Molineux, because I've never been to Molineux, and we've not played Wolves for a long, long time. So that's what I'm looking at. Lincoln away. I really enjoyed Lincoln away when we went 2 years ago. I mean, I know it helped because we'd already get promoted, but it's a lovely place to go. I mean, it's a long drive, but it's a lovely place to go. Definitely wouldn't want to go to that. From that point of view, I mean, are there any games which kind of, apart from the ones maybe you've already mentioned, where you're kind of thinking, yes, that's a game I would like to go to?
No, I think that the ones that I've mentioned already were kind of the main ones I looked out for. I mean, it's exciting, isn't it, to see fixtures? It's just nice because you feel like we're now getting towards the start of the season again, which is great. I know we've still got obviously the whole of the pre-season to come and everything else. The World Cup's helping a little bit because we're still able to see some football. Even though the hydration breaks and the referees tooting their whistles the way they do, it drives me insane. But at least there's some football on. So when you see the fixtures come out, it's great, isn't it? Because you get excited again for Tuesday nights under the lights in October you can't beat it, But for me, my kind of takeaway when I sort of had a quick scout over these fixtures earlier on was just going back to what I said before. I really think it's going to be a great championship season, I think, next year. But I think it's going to be such a tough call to try and, when we do predictions and stuff, it's going to be such a tough call to try and work out who's going to finish where. Because I think you could pick, before a ball's even kicked, you could pick one of probably 6, 7, 8 teams
at least
that have got a real good shout of being up.
On paper, yeah.
Wolves have come down from the Premier League with a great squad and have already added to it before we've really even got anywhere near the transfer window. Burnley are going to be there or thereabouts. West Ham, for crying out loud. I mean, it's looking highly likely that Jared Bowen will stay at West Ham. I mean, if he stays at West Ham, he'll be one of the best players in the Championship.
Yeah. And you have to look at the teams who are coming through as well. Norwich came through. They were. We didn't. You'd think about Middlesbrough. You'd think about Southampton. You'd think about Millwall, who were thereabouts. But then you've got teams like Norwich. Obviously, Derby ran us really close.
And they're making moves already in the transfer window.
Swansea have announced this tie up now with this firm that's helped Bournemouth recruit and also helped Hearts recruit to almost winning the Scottish. So they're going to be in leagues with them to help recruit. So they're going to be a threat. You've got your new teams like Cardiff, who are going to they're going to make a mark. I think there's going to be a lot of teams. I think we're going to have to really fight. And let's not forget as well that there are extended international breaks this year. There's a 3-week international break between the 20th of September and the 5th of October. And then the other breaks are between the 8th and the 16th of November and the 20th to the 28th of March, which means, for the first time that I can remember, there will be no domestic football over the Easter break. So there will be none of that Easter Friday, Easter Monday that we were used to, where teams have to play, because basically it's going to be international for that 8 days. I mean, good for us from a pod point of view, because we speak about international football as well. But I think if you're not interested in international football, that 3-week one, not long really after the season has started. I mean, that kicks off on the 20th of September. The league's only been going a month, and then suddenly you stop.
I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest with you. I think I've openly said before, like you say, we do cover the internationals on the pod, which is great. And as much as I love watching Wales play, from an international point of view, I personally, my interest fundamentally is around the major tournaments. I like watching the Euros, I like watching the World Cup. The Nations League has added a little bit of something to internationals instead of it just being meaningless friendlies. But I'm very much a domestic football fan. I love football generally, and I like international football, but head and shoulders for me is domestic football over international football. So the fact that the 3-week gap, like you say, just about a month into the season is crazy in itself. The one that really stings for me is the Easter one, because I again, like I was talking before about the Christmas period and how kind of that's an institution in the UK. The Christmas football festivities. is an institution where, I know it's difficult for the players to be playing so many games in a short space of time, but I think a lot of players love it as well. Where but from a fan's point of view, knowing that you've got a game 5 or 6 days before Christmas, and then you've got Boxing Day, and then you have a game in between, and then New Year's Day, whether you're home or away, it's a great time. And Easter's the same. Like you say, where you normally have Good Friday and Easter Monday or something around there. The fact that we're not going to have that that's really sort of stings for me. That I suppose the only saving grace is, as much as you're saying there won't be any domestic football, it's Premier League and Championship, isn't it? There'll still be League One, League Two, which will scratch the itch, I suppose, to a point. But at the end of the day, I'm a Wrexham fan. I want to watch Wrexham play, and when they won't be playing because of such huge international breaks, it doesn't. For me, it's not something I'm overly keen on, to be honest with you.
The important thing is the fixtures are now out. We can look forward to that, which is fantastic news, and we can start to quietly make plans. Although if you are planning to book a trip from abroad, just be very, very careful not to book something straight away, because as Jamie said earlier on, Sky will get their mitts on it and they may change the times around, and you don't want to make your plans and then find out the Sky has upset your holiday.
The problem is, folks, as we said last year, it's something that we were, we all hated last year, having so many fixtures altered. But genuinely, if we are going to push to get to the Premier League, it's something we're going to have to get used to.
Yeah.
Because as much as we piss and moan about Sky, at the end of the day, it's them putting huge amounts of money into the game that has kind of helped that get it to where it is. So it's frustrating as it is. It's something we're just going to have to get used to, I'm afraid.
So there we are, over for another week. We are off again next week, like VAR in the World Cup. We only turn up when we feel like it and not when we should. So we will be off for another week, but the week after we'll be back, where we'll look at the Welcome to Wrexham Season 5. We'll look forward to what we think Wrexham are going to what we think Wrexham are going to do in the season to come, and we'll cover the first of our pre-season friendlies, as Wrexham will travel to Poland, as will I, because I'm going to take on Wisla Krakow in the first pre-season friendly. Obviously, Daz has not made it this week, and he's not even sent us a message. He's obviously that busy, bless him. But of course, here as always, sweating like a mound of melting lard next to me is my brother Jamie. So thank you, Jim.
I am sweating like Satan's scrotum.
Yes, I'm sweating like a football intern watching a match they shouldn't be watching. So, until 2 weeks' time, until a week on Friday, come on, Cymru! Oh, and come on the town.
Clinton, 4-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5. Plays it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. It's 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013!
Alex Cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee! Back promotions. Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast!